It's a warm day in July, actually July the 13th, and we're gathering for our annual ice cream social hosted by the Gasconade County Historical Society at our museum located in Owensville, Missouri. The theme of today's event is based on the exhibit in our museum, which is Quilts Through the Ages. So on this beautiful July day, though it's a little warm, as you can see fanning going on, we have arranged some quilts on the banisters, welcoming people to our museum. You will see this quilt is covering up a quilt block that the museum or the Gasconade County Historical Society is sponsoring, and it will be later not on our building but on a sign near here, and we'll reveal that later because it's going to be uncovered during the meeting. Another quilt adorns the fence that is in the back of our property, along with the coneflowers, which is a natural flower of Missouri. And of course, here is our wash house that contains historical items that were used years ago when the laundry was done. And more quilts. Many of these came from the collection of Lynn Hazeman, who is an avid quilter, and she turns out many quilts and has through the years. This gorgeous quilt is the one that was our raffle last year, Love Letters of the Civil War. And Bill Green of Owensville is the owner of this, so he shared it with us. And we are so pleased to have it in the museum again. And soon we will be serving ice cream and delicious cookies from this table that is in the gathering room of the Gasconade County Historical Museum. There are quilts scattered throughout the museum, and of course many of them are old. The one in the case here is a fairly new one, and you can see there was a purple ribbon there. Happens to be that St. Peter's United Church of Christ quilted this and received this ribbon at the Gasconade County Fair. More quilts are displayed here in the main hall of our museum. Even in our historical schoolroom, we find a friendship quilt where those in the organization or community, each one made a block with their name, and I'm not sure what else is on there, but they're all interesting. This is an interesting contemporary quilt, again made by Lynn Hazeman. It's called a Stack and Whack, and of course quilters keep coming up with new ideas and new methods and new ways of doing this big, actually very popular, I don't know that I can call it a craft, it's an art form, and our community has a number of quilters. This quilt belongs to Gloria Ritter, and it is a treasure. She's had it appraised, and it is a $12,000 piece. And for those of us who have done quilting and applique, we can understand why. It's absolutely beautiful work, and I know many hours completing this gorgeous quilt. And here is the quilt that you could have a chance to own, or if you are the lucky winner with your raffle ticket, which will be drawn the first Sunday in November at our annual meeting then. It is a mini trip around the world, and many of the fabrics were obtained from an auction. Some of them are back to the 1930s. little tiny prints. It's also called a postage stamp print because you can see all of those little blocks are about the size of a postage stamp. We can thank Pat Hudson of Herman, who so generously for many years has pieced the quilt and quilted it and given it to us so that we might make money by selling raffle tickets. Well, come with me on a tour of the upstairs of the museum. This is a railing that is also adorned with quilts. This is a children's room, and we do have some special quilts here too. The one on the bed is especially dear to me because my husband, Dr. Paul Baker, who was the first president of the Gasconade County Historical Society, this was his baby quilt, and I'm still amazed that his mother had the time to do this when she had 2 older sons already. Well, we're in the medical room, and this is Dr. Baker. There is also a quilt here, which his mother made while he was in his doctor's training, so I'm going to show that to you. I'm not sure why his mother chose the pink for a quilt for him, but anyway, she has written in the corner that this is for her son, Dr. Paul C. Baker. Interestingly, this quilt was quilted by 3 generations of women, and the only one I was familiar with is Lois Crater, was one of those 3 women. She lives in the BIM area. Very pretty, and how unique for 3 generations of ladies quilters to do this together. This lovely quilt belongs to Bonnie Brown, who is responsible for this exhibit in the museum. And this is a double sawtooth design pattern, and it is a quilt that came from her family. It's on this absolutely gorgeous bed that we are fortunate to have in the museum. And this is the upstairs hallway from the other end. And yes, you guessed it, it's more quilts that are decorating the rail. Our beautiful, beautiful museum. Hanging in our art and music room door is this lovely friendship quilt that individuals embroider designs. Bring that up closer for you. And then they place their name. This is just a soft yellow. It's a beautiful, just a beautiful quilt, as all of them are, of course. We don't have a quilt block in the military room, but because this room and its collection is so impressive, I want to include it on the video.
Yeah. I'll go back out.
When our 4th grade students come through to see the museum, they're always fascinated with this chair that is, it's called a saber chair, so that the person, always their saber was worn on the left, and they could easily sit down and it would still be with them. People are beginning to gather. Our meeting will soon begin.
Uh-oh.
And anyway, and it's warm, and we have the neatest fans that the committee made. It has a quilt block design on it, really cute. And we all need a fan. It's humid and warm.
If you've had an opportunity to look at your fan, I think there's a different pattern on most all of them. You have to look at your neighbors and learn a little bit about their quilt block pattern. So thank you very much. These are much needed today. Thanks for doing those. I'd like to call our meeting to order. And I'd like for Lois to share with us the minutes from our last meeting. Lois, to have one for the museum because it seemed only appropriate given that this year is our quilt exhibit. And we also, Harlan mentioned that there are opportunities to donate. And in this case, I donated this in honor of my mother's 85th birthday, which was in May, because she says she never needs anything, so she would rather I donated to something. So this is for my mom. So she was pleased to know that. So there are opportunities if you're looking for a way to commemorate a special event, recognize a loved one, that you can contact your society, and we're full of ideas on how that can be accomplished. So we'd now like to unveil our quilt block, which will be mounted on a separate stand on the side of the building.
You should be the one up
No, you guys do all the work on the museum.
Yes, they do.
And very ably so. This is the best museum I've ever been to for a county historical society. It's as good as some state historical society. So this is the railroad pattern, right? Railroad tracks.
Railroad tracks is what the pattern is called.
And Pat selected that, and she has written a little description that accompanies the quilt when it's mounted, the quilt block, that tells a little bit of why this particular hotel and its history. So I think it's awesome that we have the railroad track block as our pattern to have displayed. So, and the graphic is really striking, and I believe that the local garden club's working with you guys to do some landscaping around this. So come back and see it when it's all mounted. But thank you, Pat, for taking care of that, because she handled all the arrangements to get it done for this meeting. So.